Imagine the chains of generational debt shattering at your feet, not next year, but in this exact prophetic moment. Visualize the instant where every second of your suffering, every closed door, is violently transformed into an irreversible extreme prosperity. The spiritual veto has been declared against your lack. You mistook God's delay for God's denial, but the clock for your miracle just hit zero. This is the imminent prophetic shift the wealthy have always understood. Napoleon Hill didn't call this wishing. He called it a command backed by infallible divine law. The tsunami of riches is no longer forming. It is here. You have been standing in the silence, haven't you? Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the suffocating weight of unanswered prayers. The silence where you whisper your needs into the dark and hear nothing back. Where you wake at 3 a.m. with your chest tight, wondering if God forgot your address, lost your file, crossed your name off the list. You've watched others receive their miracles while you remain in the hallway, waiting for a door that never seems to open. The bills stack higher. The opportunities pass by. The years accumulate like dust on a promise you're no longer sure was ever real. But what you heard as silence was never absence. What you felt as abandonment was never rejection. The stillness you've been sitting in was not God's indifference. It was the ocean pulling back before the wave crashes. It was the atmosphere holding its breath before the thunder breaks. You see, there is a phenomenon that happens before every tsunami, a moment the locals recognize as the most dangerous illusion of all. The water recedes, the shore extends. It looks like the sea is retreating, like the threat is passing, like nothing is coming at all. And that is precisely when those who do not understand the pattern walk further out onto the sand, believing they've been spared, believing the danger was never real. But those who know, those who have studied the laws of the ocean, they run, because they understand that the withdrawal is not the end of the threat. It is the gathering of the force. The deeper the water pulls back, the higher the wave will rise. The longer the silence, the more violent the arrival. That recession you've been living in, that pulling back of provision, that delay you've been interpreting as denial, it was not God withdrawing his promise. It was the universe gathering the magnitude of what is about to be released into your life. The veto has already been declared in the courts of heaven. The gavel has already fallen. The decree has already been signed, sealed, and stamped with divine authority. And the execution of that veto, the manifestation of that prophetic shift, is not coming someday when you are finally worthy enough or wise enough or faithful enough. It is imminent. It is now. It is crashing toward the shore of your reality, whether you feel ready or not. But here is what separates those who drown in the wave from those who ride it to a new shore. It is not the size of their faith. It is not the purity of their past. It is whether they understand the laws that govern the movement of divine wealth. You see, Napoleon Hill did not stumble upon success principles by accident. He studied the wealthiest minds of his generation and discovered something that the religious have always known but often forget. Wealth is not random. Prosperity is not luck. Abundance is not a lottery where God picks names out of a hat on days he feels generous. There are laws, infallible, unchanging, spiritual laws that govern the transfer of resources from the invisible realm into your bank account. And if you align with those laws, the wealth must come. Not because you deserve it, not because you earned it, but because law is law. And when you position yourself correctly under divine decree, the universe has no choice but to comply. The waiting period you have endured was not wasted time. It was preparation time. Every closed door was not rejection. It was protection from a blessing you were not yet equipped to steward. Every delayed answer was not God ignoring you. It was God building the infrastructure in your spirit to handle the magnitude of what is about to be released. Because when this prophetic shift fully breaks into your three-dimensional reality, it will not arrive as a trickle. It will not come as a modest improvement. It will crash into your life with such force that if you were not prepared, if the foundation was not laid, if the character was not forged in the fire of the weight, it would destroy you. And God loves you too much to give you a blessing that would become your curse. So you have been in the waiting room. But the waiting room was never a punishment. It was a classroom. And the curriculum was singular and non-negotiable. You had to learn, in the depths of your lack, that your worth is not tied to your bank balance. You had to discover, in the silence of unanswered prayers, that your identity is not dependent on the speed of God's response. You had to be refined to the point where you can receive extreme wealth without it receiving you, where you can walk in abundance without abundance walking you, where you can hold money in your hand without money holding your heart. That is what the wait was for. That is what the silence accomplished. And now, the wait is over. You are standing inside the prophetic shift right now, not at the edge of it, not approaching it, inside it. The tsunami has already begun its approach. The veto has been declared. But to finalize this divine reversal, to lock it into your physical reality, you must execute 3 infallible laws of wealth. These are not suggestions. These are not optional practices for the spiritually advanced. These are the non-negotiable mechanisms by which divine abundance transfers from the realm of spirit into the realm of matter. First, the law of definite command, where you learn to decree instead of beg. Second, the law of sovereign possession, where you take ownership of the wealth before you see it. Third, the law of forced action, where you move your body in alignment with the decree your mouth has spoken. And at the end, I will deliver the 48-hour wealth activation protocol. Not theory, not inspiration. The exact step-by-step mechanism that locks this shift into place within 2 days. Do not move, do not scroll, do not let distractions steal what is about to be handed to you. The first law is the law that most people violate without even knowing it. They pray vague prayers, they wish general wishes, they hope for more or better or enough, and then they wonder why heaven seems to ignore them. But heaven does not respond to vagueness. The divine realm does not answer ambiguity. God is not a genie who interprets your mumbled desperation and fills in the blanks for you. He is a king who responds to decrees. He is a judge who executes verdicts. He is a commander-in-chief who mobilizes armies when the order is clear, specific, and non-negotiable. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, the titans of industry and innovation, and discovered that every single one of them had one thing in common. They did not want wealth. They commanded it. They did not hope for success. They decreed it. They wrote down the exact amount. They set the exact date. They defined the exact outcome. And then they moved through the world as if the contract was already signed, because in the spiritual realm it was. Hill called this principle definiteness of purpose. We call it the law of definite command. This is how empires were commanded into existence overnight, not by hoping, not by wishing, not by passively waiting for opportunity to knock, by deciding the exact sum, writing the exact date, and forcing the spiritual mechanics to obey. You do not ask for prosperity. You decree it. You do not beg for abundance. You mandate it. You sit down tonight before you sleep and you write out the exact sum. Not I want to be comfortable or I hope to have enough. No, the exact number, the specific dollar amount that represents the life you are calling into existence. And you write the date, not someday, not eventually. The exact day, month, and year by which this wealth will manifest in your physical reality, and then you sign it. You put your name at the bottom of that decree like you are signing a contract with the universe, because that is exactly what you are doing. Why does this work? Because vague desires are petitions that God ignores. A definite command is a spiritual contract that He is forced to honor by His own divine law. You see, when you pray a vague prayer, you are asking God to make a decision for you. You are asking Him to interpret your need, assess your worthiness, and determine what you should receive. And in that passivity, in that abdication of responsibility, you disqualify yourself from the fullness of the blessing. But when you issue a definite command, when you stand up in the authority that God gave you as His child, and you declare the exact terms of your covenant, you are not asking God to decide for you. You are partnering with God in the decision that has already been made in heaven. You are aligning your will with His will. You are taking dominion over your financial reality the way Adam was instructed to take dominion over the garden. And in that act of sacred audacity, heaven moves. Define your sum, write the date, command the outcome. Vague desires are petitions God ignores, but a definite command is a spiritual contract he is forced to honor by his own veto. This is not about manipulation. This is about alignment. This is not about forcing God's hand. This is about taking the hand God has already extended and writing your name on the palm. This is the first law, and it is non-negotiable. Let me give you the creed right now. This is what you will speak tonight. This is what you will write at the top of your decree. I command this specific amount to manifest by this specific date. It is decreed, not I hope, not I wish, not I would like. I command. And you will write the exact dollar amount in that blank space, and you will write the exact date, and you will sign your name at the bottom, and you will read it out loud 3 times before you sleep tonight, with authority, with emotion, with the full weight of your faith behind every word. How many times have you sat in your lack, waiting for God to do something, when God has been waiting for you to say something? How many opportunities passed by because you were too timid to name the thing you actually wanted? How many open doors did you miss because you were asking for signs instead of issuing commands? The prophetic shift that is breaking over your life right now will not wait for your hesitation. It will not pause for your politeness. It demands that you rise to the level of authority that your identity as a child of God grants you, and that authority begins with a definite command. Let me be clear about what happens when you violate this law. When you remain vague, when you refuse to name the sum and set the date, you nullify the veto, you cancel the decree. You tell the universe that you are not serious, that you do not actually believe, that you would rather stay safe in your ambiguity than risk disappointment in your specificity. And the tsunami of wealth that was gathering on your behalf, the wave that was pulling back to crash into your shore, it redirects. It flows to someone else. It finds the person who had the audacity to be specific, the courage to be definite, the faith to sign the contract even before they saw the evidence. And you remain on the sand, wondering why the blessing never came, not realizing that it came exactly as close as your clarity allowed it to come. If you ignore this definition, you nullify the veto, and the picture tsunami of riches flows to someone who dared to be specific. So tonight, you will not go to sleep without doing this. You will sit down with a pen and paper, not your phone, not a mental note. An actual pen and an actual piece of paper, because there is something about the physical act of writing that signals to your subconscious mind that this is real, that this is binding, that this is the moment the old life ends and the new one begins. And you will write at the top of that paper in bold letters, I command. Not I hope, not I wish, not I would like, I command. And then you will write the sum, the exact dollar amount, and you will write the date, the specific day this will manifest. And you will write it as if you are writing the most important contract you will ever sign, because you are. And at the bottom, you will sign your name, and you will read it out loud 3 times, with authority, with emotion, with conviction that shakes the atmosphere. This is not positive thinking. This is not the law of attraction dressed up in spiritual language. This is a divine law that predates Napoleon Hill, that predates every success guru, that goes back to the Garden of Eden, when God gave humanity the authority to name things, and by naming them, to command them into alignment. You are not manipulating God. You are partnering with Him. You are not forcing the universe to bend to your will. You are aligning your will with the will that has already been declared over your life. The veto against your poverty has already been issued in heaven. This decree you are writing tonight is simply the legal document that authorizes its execution on earth. And when you write it, something shifts. Not just in the spirit realm, though that shift is real and immediate, something shifts in you. Because the moment you commit to a specific sum and a specific date, you can no longer hide behind vagueness. You can no longer live in the comfortable fog of someday and maybe and if God wills. You have drawn a line in the sand. You have set the terms. You have issued the challenge to your own faith, and everything you do from this moment forward will either move you toward that decree or away from it. Every decision will either honor that command or dishonor it. Every thought will either align with that contract or contradict it. And that clarity, that definition, that specificity is what activates the law. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this honestly. Even if no one else can hear you, what is the number? What is the exact amount of money that would change everything for you? Not the amount that would make life slightly easier, not the amount that would pay off one credit card, the amount that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of your entire existence, the amount that would allow you to exhale for the first time in years, the amount that would let you sleep through the night without waking up in a panic about bills. What is that number, and why have you been afraid to name it out loud? Is it because you think God cannot handle it? Is it because you believe you do not deserve it? Is it because you are terrified that if you name it and it does not come, you will have to face the fact that maybe this whole faith thing was a lie? That fear is the exact reason you must name it. Because that fear is the gatekeeper. That fear is the bouncer standing between you and the fullness of your inheritance, and the only way to disarm that fear is to call its bluff. You name the number, you set the date, you sign the decree. And you watch what happens when you stop negotiating with God and start commanding in alignment with His will. The number you are afraid to name is the exact number heaven is prepared to release. The date you are terrified to set is the exact timeline the divine has already cleared for your breakthrough. Your fear is not a warning, it is a confirmation. The thing you are most afraid to ask for is the thing you were created to. Steward, the decree is signed. Now we seal it against all doubt. Now, I need to know that you are truly here, that you are not just a passive observer watching this message drift by like every other inspirational video you consumed and forgot. If you are serious about this prophetic shift, if you are ready to issue your definite command, I need you to do something right now. Comment the word decreed, not tomorrow, not later, right now. Because that single word, typed or spoken into the atmosphere, is your signature on the contract. It is your yes to the process. It is your agreement with heaven that you are no longer negotiating. You are no longer begging. You are no longer waiting passively for God to maybe, possibly, someday drop a blessing in your lap. You are decreeing. You are commanding. You are taking the authority that was given to you and you are using it. So do it now. Decreed. The decree is signed. The contract is active. But a contract without faith is just ink on paper. Command without conviction is just noise in the air. Doubt is the enemy of the prophetic shift. We must crush it now. Because here is what happens to most people after they write down their decree. They issue the command, they sign the contract, they feel the surge of hope, and then they wake up the next morning and check their bank account and see the same balance they saw yesterday, and doubt creeps in. Did I do it wrong? Is God really going to honor this? Maybe I am not important enough for this to work. Maybe this is just for other people, the special ones, the chosen ones, the ones who have their lives together. And in that moment of doubt, they cancel the decree they just issued. They nullify the veto. They sabotage the very shift they activated 24 hours earlier. This brings us to the second law, the law that most people violate even after they get the first one right. Napoleon Hill studied this phenomenon obsessively. He called it faith, but not the kind of passive, fingers-crossed faith that most people practice. He called it the faith that acts as if the thing is already done, the faith that takes possession of the outcome before the evidence appears. Sovereign faith, this is not hoping that maybe God will come through if you are good enough. This is knowing, with unshakable certainty, that the wealth you decreed is already yours in the spiritual realm, and it is only a matter of time before it materializes in the physical realm. And because you know it is already yours, you begin to act like it. You begin to move like it. You begin to speak like it. You begin to make decisions like someone who is about to receive exactly what they commanded. Hill identified faith as the catalyst for all manifestation. But this is not passive hope. This is sovereign faith, the internal conviction, the emotional possession that the imminent wealth is already yours before you see it. The prophets did not ask for the sea to part. They commanded it, knowing the physics must obey the spiritual command. Your financial reality is no different. This is the law of sovereign possession. The prophets understood this. When Moses stood at the edge of the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army closing in and 2 million terrified Israelites screaming behind him, he did not stand there hoping the sea might possibly part if God was in a good mood. He lifted his staff and commanded the waters to divide, because he possessed the outcome before he saw the outcome. He had sovereign faith. He knew that the God who called him to that edge would not abandon him at that edge. And the waters had no choice but to obey, not because Moses was perfect, not because Moses had never doubted, but because in that moment Moses exercised sovereign possession over the promise that had been spoken over his life. He did not wait to see the dry ground before he believed the dry ground existed. He believed the dry ground existed, and therefore it appeared. This is what separates those who to receive the fullness of the prophetic shift from those who watch it pass by. The ones who receive it are the ones who possess it before it arrives. They do not wait to feel wealthy before they act wealthy. They act wealthy, and the feeling follows. They do not wait for the bank account to change before they change their mindset. They change their mindset, and the bank account has no choice but to align. This is not fake it until you make it. This is faith it until you see it. This is possessing the reality in your spirit before it manifests in your circumstance. Let me explain the mechanics of this, because if you do not understand how this works, you will dismiss it as wishful thinking and miss the entire transfer. Every single thing that exists in the physical world, the chair you are sitting in, the device you are holding, the money in the bank accounts of the wealthy, all of it existed first as a thought, then as a belief, then as a sustained emotional conviction, and only then did it materialize. The physical realm is the slowest, densest dimension of reality. It is the last place things show up. The spiritual realm is where creation happens. The mental and emotional realms are where creation is given form and energy, and the physical realm is simply where creation finally becomes visible to those who only believe what they can see. So when you issued your definite command, when you wrote down that number and signed your name, you set a creation in motion in the spiritual realm. That wealth is already real. It already exists. It is already allocated. It is already en route. But for it to fully materialize in your bank account, you must hold the frequency of possession in your mind and emotions. You must live today as the person who already has that wealth, not arrogantly, not recklessly, but with quiet, unshakable certainty. Possess it now. Silence the doubt. Act as wealthy. Faith is the substance of things unseen. It is the currency you use to purchase the reality that the veto has already authorized. You do not wait for evidence to believe. You believe, and evidence has no choice but to follow. This is the second law. You silence the voice that says it is impossible. You reject the evidence that says it has not happened yet. You ignore the circumstances that scream you are still in lack. And you anchor yourself every single day in the truth that what God has decreed cannot be undone by what you currently see. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is the currency you use to purchase the reality that the veto has already authorized. This is why doubt is so lethal. Doubt is not just a feeling. Doubt is a frequency. And when you allow doubt to dominate your mental and emotional state, you begin broadcasting a signal that contradicts the decree you issued. You start telling the universe, actually, never mind, I do not believe that command I made. I take it back. I am not ready. I do not deserve it. It is too big. It will not work for me. And the universe, which is always listening, always responding, always aligning with the signal you emit most consistently, begins to withdraw the manifestation, not because God changed his mind, but because you did. So, what do you do when doubt whispers? Because it will whisper. It will show up at 3 in the morning when you are staring at another bill you cannot pay. It will show up when you see someone else get the breakthrough you have been praying for. It will show up when the timeline you set starts approaching and you see no evidence that anything is changing. What do you do in that moment? You do not negotiate with the doubt. You do not entertain it. You do not analyze it or try to logic your way out of it. You command it to be silent. You speak out loud, "I possess my wealth. The veto is final. My reality must align." You say it with authority. You say it with emotion. You say it until the doubt has no more oxygen to friends. Breathe. This is the creed of the second law. I possess my wealth. The veto is final. My reality must align. You will speak this every single time doubt tries to rise. You will not wait until you feel like it. You will not wait until the doubt passes on its own. You will forcefully, intentionally, authoritatively command the doubt to submit to the decree that has already been issued in heaven. And you will do this as many times as it takes, 10 times a day if necessary, 100 times a day if that is what it requires, because every time you speak that creed, you are reinforcing the frequency of possession. You are reminding your subconscious mind, your emotional body, and the spiritual realm that you have already taken ownership of this wealth, and you are not giving it back. Let me be very clear about what happens if you ignore this truth. If you allow doubt, if you challenge the divine veto by permitting fear and unbelief to dominate your thoughts, you signal to the universe that you prefer your old chains. You cancel the contract you signed. You tell heaven that you were not serious, that you do not actually want the shift, that you would rather stay in the familiar misery of lack than step into the unfamiliar territory of abundance. And the tsunami redirects. The wealth that was flowing toward you finds someone else, someone who is holding the frequency of possession, someone who refused to let doubt steal what God already released. If you allow doubt, you challenge the divine veto, signaling to the universe that you prefer your old chains. Do you see how critical this is? The decree was the starting point. Sovereign possession is the anchor point. Without this second law, the first law is powerless. You can write down all the commands you want, but if you do not possess them emotionally, if you do not hold the frequency of already having what you commanded, the manifestation stalls. It hovers in the spiritual realm, waiting for you to align, waiting for you to stop contradicting your own decree with your doubt. So here is what you will do starting right now. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you look at your bank account, before you engage with the circumstances of your current reality, you will speak the creed. I possess my wealth. The veto is final. My reality must align. You will say it out loud. You will say it with conviction. And you will spend 60 seconds visualizing yourself already living in the reality of that decree you signed. You will see yourself paying off the debt. You will see yourself making the investment. You will see yourself walking into the new home, driving the new car, writing the check to the ministry, funding the dream that has been on hold for years, and you will feel the emotion of that reality as if it is already true, because in the realm of faith, it is already true, and the physical realm is simply catching up. This is not pretending. This is not denial. This is not ignoring your bills or acting irresponsibly. This is exercising the spiritual law of possession that every wealthy person, whether they know the spiritual mechanics or not, has used to create their abundance. They possessed it first in their mind and emotions, and then the physical evidence had no choice but to follow. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The tsunami is no longer forming. It is here. The prophetic shift has been authorized. Your decree is signed. Your faith is sealed. But authorization and possession are not enough. The veto demands physical movement. This is where most people stall. They write the decree, they feel the faith, and then they sit on the couch waiting for the wealth to materialize out of thin air while they do nothing. And they wonder why the shift never completes. They wonder why the tsunami seems to pause just offshore, never quite crashing into their reality. It is because they violated the third law, the law that transforms spiritual momentum into physical manifestation. Napoleon Hill called this principle auto-suggestion, and organized planning. He observed that the wealthiest individuals did not just think about success and hope it arrived. They spoke their wealth into existence daily, saturating their subconscious mind with the reality they were creating. And then they moved. They took action, not anxious, desperate action. Not frantic, fearful scrambling, but deliberate, faith-backed movement that created the container for the wealth to fill. This is the law of forced action. You must speak and move as if the tsunami of riches has already crashed ashore. You force the shift by aligning your physical body with the decree your mouth spoke and the faith your heart possesses. The wealthiest do not wait for opportunity. They do not sit around hoping someone discovers them, hoping the right door opens, hoping the economy shifts in their favor. They create the container for the wealth. They start the business. They make the call. They take the meeting. They write the proposal. They launch the product. They move their body in the direction of the decree, knowing that the divine veto must fill whatever container they build. And the universe, seeing their faith demonstrated through action, releases the flood. This is how divine wealth operates. The spiritual realm has released the resources. Heaven has opened the floodgates. The veto has been declared, but you are required to dig the trenches, to build the channels, to create the pathways through which that wealth can flow into your life. If you remain passive, if you refuse to move, the wealth washes past you. It finds someone else who built the container. It flows to the person who had the audacity to act before they saw the evidence. Let me tell you what this looks like practically. It means that starting today, you speak your wealth out loud. Not once, not when you feel inspired. Every single day, multiple times a day. You saturate your subconscious mind with the reality of the decree you signed. You say it when you wake up. You say it in the car. You say it before meals. You say it before sleep. You bombard your internal programming with the new reality until your subconscious has no choice but to accept it as true and begin working to manifest it. And you walk into the role. You begin making decisions like someone who already has the wealth you commanded. Not recklessly, not foolishly, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the money is already allocated, already en route, already manifesting. You research the investment you are going to make. You start the business plan you have been delaying. You have the conversation you have been avoiding. You take the step that requires faith, because if you wait until you see the money before you move, you signal to the universe that you do not actually believe your own decree. Speak your wealth. Walk into the role. Force the action. The spiritual realm has released the flood. You are now required to dig the trenches of action to receive the imminent wealth, or it will wash past you. This is the third law, and it is non-negotiable. Here is the creed for this law. My actions are backed by divine law. I move, and money responds. Not money moves, and then I respond. No, I move, and money responds, because you are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for proof. You are moving in faith. And the wealth has no choice but to follow the frequency you are holding and the action you are taking. Every single day, you will identify one action, just one, that aligns with the decree you signed. One phone call, one email, one application, one conversation, 1 hour of research, one step toward the container that will hold the wealth. And you will take that action before the day ends. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because every day you delay is a day the manifestation is postponed. Every day you remain passive is a day the tsunami redirects to find someone who is moving. This is not about working yourself into exhaustion. This is not about striving and hustling and grinding until you collapse. This is about deliberate, faith-backed action that signals to heaven and earth that you are serious, that you are aligned, that you are ready to receive what has already been released. One action per day. Consistent, intentional, non-negotiable. Let me be very clear about what happens if you ignore this law. If you remain passive, if you refuse to move, if you wait for the wealth to appear before you take action, the prophetic shift stalls. The veto is upheld in heaven, But you are not present on earth to receive the judgment. The decree you signed becomes void. The faith you cultivated becomes dormant. And the wealth that was gathering for you flows to someone else who understood that faith without works is dead. If you remain passive, the prophetic shift stalls and the veto is upheld, but you are not present to receive the judgment. Do you see the pattern? 3 laws. Definite command, where you issue the decree. Sovereign possession, where you hold the frequency of already having it. Forced action, where you move your body in alignment with the decree. These 3 laws are not sequential steps you complete and move on from. They are simultaneous, ongoing practices that create the magnetic field around your life that pulls the wealth from the spiritual realm into the physical realm. You command it, you possess it, you act on it every single day until the evidence appears, and the evidence will appear, not because you are special, not because you are more deserving than anyone else, but because law is law. When you align with the mechanics of divine wealth transfer, the wealth must come. It has no choice. The universe is not arbitrary. God is not capricious. There are laws, and when you honor those laws, the result is guaranteed. The laws are complete. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The action is commanded. But I know what is happening in your mind right now, because it happens in everyone's mind at this point. The old fear is rising. The old doubt is whispering. The old identity is fighting for survival. And if we do not address this now, if we do not dismantle these objections, they will sabotage everything you have just activated. You are sitting here thinking, but I have tried this before. I have issued decrees before. I have believed before. I have taken action before. And the money never came. The breakthrough never happened. The shift never manifested. What if this time is no different? What if my faith is too weak? What if I am too broken? What if God has limits on what He will do for someone like me? These thoughts are not new. These objections are not unique to you. They are the standard weapons that doubt uses to disarm faith and cancel miracles, and we are going to dismantle them right now. First objection: why is God taking so long? If the veto has been declared, if the shift is imminent, why am I still sitting in lack? Why has nothing changed yet? Here is the truth. God is not slow. Time in the spiritual realm does not operate the way time operates in the physical realm. What feels like years to you is preparation in heaven. What feels like delay to you is the gathering of magnitude. You see the surface, the symptoms, the current bank balance. God sees the infrastructure. He sees whether you are ready to steward what He is about to release. He sees whether the blessing would destroy you or develop you. And He loves you too much to release something on your timeline that would wreck you. The delay is not denial. The delay is not punishment. The delay is the final stage of preparation before the tsunami crashes. Second objection: I am not good enough. I do not deserve this level of wealth. I have made too many mistakes. I have failed too many times. My past disqualifies me from this kind of breakthrough. Let me tell you something that will shatter that lie. The veto is not based on your performance. It is based on God's promise. The prophetic shift is not a reward for good behavior. It is an inheritance released to children, and you are a child of God regardless of what you have done or failed to do. The blood of Jesus did not cover most of your sins. It covered all of them. And the moment you were redeemed, you became qualified for every promise in the book. Your past is irrelevant. Your mistakes are forgiven. Your failures are forgotten. The only question is whether you will receive what has already been released, or whether you will disqualify yourself by believing the lie that you are not enough. Third objection: what if this is just my imagination? What if this is just positive thinking dressed up in spiritual language? What if I am deluding myself and setting myself up for disappointment? Here is the distinction. Positive thinking says, I will feel better if I think happy thoughts. Faith says, God has already decreed my breakthrough, and I am aligning with that decree. Positive thinking is hoping for a better future. Faith is possessing the future that has already been authorized in heaven. Positive thinking is you trying to create something out of nothing. Faith is you receiving something that has already been created. You are not imagining the veto. The veto is real. It was declared before you even knew to ask for it. You are simply coming into agreement with what heaven has already done. Fourth objection: my faith is too weak. I do not have the kind of faith that moves mountains. I doubt too much. I waver too easily. I am not strong enough for this to work. Let me tell you about the mustard seed. Jesus said if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Do you know how small a mustard seed is? Tiny, almost invisible. You do not need giant faith. You do not need perfect faith. You do not need faith that never doubts. You need mustard seed faith. Faith that is small but real. Faith that wavers but does not quit. Faith that doubts but chooses to decree anyway. Your faith does not have to be strong, it just has to be present. And the moment it is present, God takes that tiny seed and multiplies it into a harvest you cannot contain. Fifth objection: this seems impossible. The gap between where I am and where the decree says I will be is too large. The debt is too high. The obstacle is too big. The enemies are too strong. I feel like David staring at Goliath, and I do not have what it takes to win. But that is exactly the point. David did not defeat Goliath because David was strong. David defeated Goliath because God was with him. And the giant was never the real enemy. The real enemy was the fear that said it could not be done. Goliath was already defeated the moment David decided to show up on the battlefield. The decree you signed, the faith you possess, the action you are taking, that is you showing up on the battlefield. And the giant of your debt, the giant of your lack, the giant of your impossibility, it is already falling. You just have not seen it hit the ground yet. Do you see what just happened? Every objection you had, every doubt that was trying to creep in, every fear that was attempting to sabotage your decree, it has been dismantled. Not because I convinced you with clever arguments, but because the truth always overpowers the lie when you shine light on it. Your doubt is a memory. The veto is a present tense divine action. This prophetic shift is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on God's authority. The law is the law. And when you align with the law, the result is guaranteed. So what do you do when doubt whispers again? Because it will. The enemy does not give up after one dismantling. He will try again tomorrow, next week, in the middle of the night, when you are tired and vulnerable. And when he does, when the doubt rises, when the fear screams, when the objection surfaces, you do not negotiate, you do not analyze, you do not try to logic your way out of it. You command it to be silent. You speak out loud. The veto is final. The shift is imminent. Silence. And you say it with authority. You say it with the full weight of someone who knows that what God has decreed cannot be undone by what they currently see. The objections are dismantled. The laws are in place. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The action is commanded. And now we activate. Now, we lock this shift into your physical reality with a precision protocol that leaves no room for delay, no space for sabotage, no opportunity for the enemy to steal what has been released. This is the 48-hour wealth activation. Not theory, not inspiration. The exact mechanism that transforms the spiritual decree into physical manifestation. This is not a drill. This is the test. This is where your commitment is measured. This is where your faith is proven. Tonight, 10 minutes before you sleep, you will execute the following protocol. With absolute precision, find a quiet place. Turn off the distractions. Silence your phone. Sit in a chair or on the edge of your bed with your feet flat on the floor. This posture matters. You are not lying down in passivity. You are seated in authority. Your spine is straight. Your hands are open on your lap, palms facing up in the posture of receiving. This is the physical language of readiness. This is your body telling the spiritual realm that you are here, you are present, you are prepared to receive what heaven is releasing. And you will read your decree, the one you wrote, the one with the exact amount and the exact date and your signature at the bottom. You will read it out loud, not in your head, out loud, because there is power in the spoken word. There is authority in the voice. The spiritual realm responds to sound, not thought, and as you read it, you are not performing, you are not reciting, you are declaring. You are announcing to every force in the invisible realm that this is the contract, this is the agreement, this is the reality that is now in motion, and then you will breathe deeply 3 times, not shallow, anxious breathing, deep, intentional breathing that fills your lungs completely, that calms your nervous system, that brings you into the present moment, that signals to your body that you are not in danger, that you are not in lack, that you are in faith. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, 3 times. And as you breathe, you will visualize the gavel of the veto. You will see it in your mind, the wooden handle, the heavy head, the hand of God raising it high, and then the smash. The sound of it hitting the bench, the finality of it, the decree being executed, the judgment being rendered, the shift being locked into place. You hear the sound echoing in the courtroom of heaven. You feel the vibration of it in your chest. This is done. This is final. This is irreversible. And then you will repeat your creed 5 times. Not once, not twice, 5 times. I command this amount to manifest by this date. It is decreed. And you will say it with emotion, not monotone, not robotic, with feeling, with conviction, with the emotion of someone who possesses their wealth, who owns their breakthrough, who knows beyond any shadow of doubt that what they are speaking is already true in the realm that matters most. You will feel the gratitude as if the money has already hit your account. You will feel the relief as if the debt has already been canceled. You will feel the joy as if the door has already opened. 5 times, out loud, with emotion. Let the feeling rise in your chest. Let it overwhelm you. Let it become the dominant frequency in your body. And then, in the silence that follows, you will speak these declarations, not as requests, not as hopes, as statements of truth, as proclamations of the identity shift that is occurring in real time. You will speak them slowly, one at a time, letting each one settle into your spirit before moving to the next. I am the one God has chosen to receive this wealth. I am worthy of the abundance that is flowing toward me. I am prepared to steward what heaven is releasing. I am aligned with divine timing and divine provision. I am no longer defined by my past, but by my prophetic future. I am walking in the authority that was given to me as a child of the King. I am the recipient of the veto that has been declared over my life. I am no longer waiting for the shift. I am living in the shift. I am no longer hoping for the breakthrough. I am possessing the breakthrough. I am the container that God is filling. I am the vessel that heaven is using. These declarations are not wishful thinking. These are the mirror statements that reflect back to you the truth that heaven already knows about you. This is who you are in the realm that matters. This is your identity in the kingdom. And as you speak these truths out loud, you are aligning your earthly perception with your heavenly reality. You are closing the gap between who you think you are and who God says you are. And in that alignment, the manifestation accelerates. And when you wake up the next morning, before you check your phone, before you engage with the chaos of the day, before you look at your bank account, you will write down one action, just one, the action you will take that day to prepare the container for the imminent wealth. Maybe it is researching an investment. Maybe it is making a phone call you have been avoiding. Maybe it is updating your resume. Maybe it is starting the business plan. Maybe it is having the conversation. Maybe it is applying for the position. Whatever it is, it must be specific, it must be actionable, and it must be completed before the day ends. One action per day for the next 48 hours. This is the ritual. This is the test. This is the mechanism. You will execute this protocol with precision, not when you feel like it, not if you remember, with precision, because this ritual is the physical mechanism that locks the prophetic shift into your material reality within 48 hours, 2 complete cycles, tonight and tomorrow night, 2 mornings of action, 2 evenings of declaration, 48 hours of absolute alignment. This is the activation window. But the activation does not end at 48 hours. That is simply the ignition. What I am about to give you now is the system that sustains the manifestation beyond the initial breakthrough. This is the evidence protocol. This is how you train your spiritual eyes to see what is already moving before the full manifestation appears. Because here's what happens to most people. They activate the shift, they feel the surge, and then they wait for the entire sum to drop into their account in one dramatic moment. And when it does not happen that way, when the manifestation comes in stages, in signs, in synchronicities, they miss it. They overlook the evidence. They dismiss the small confirmations, and in that dismissal, they weaken their faith and slow the full manifestation. So, starting today, you will keep an evidence journal, not a prayer journal, not a gratitude journal, an evidence journal. And every single day for the next 90 days, you will write down 3 pieces of evidence that God is moving on your behalf. Not 3 things you are grateful for. 3 pieces of evidence. Evidence is specific. Evidence is tangible. Evidence is something that would not have happened if the veto had not been declared. Maybe you find a coin on the ground. That is evidence. Maybe you receive an unexpected phone call. That is evidence. Maybe someone reaches out with an opportunity you did not pursue. That is evidence. Maybe a bill gets reduced. Maybe a refund comes through. Maybe a door opens that was previously closed. Maybe you feel a sudden peace about your finances that was not there before. That is evidence. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. These are heaven's way of saying, I heard your decree and I am moving. The tsunami is building. The shift is in motion. Stay aligned. And you will write these 3 pieces of evidence down every single day. Not at the end of the week, not when you remember. Every day. Because this practice does 2 things. First, it trains your brain to look for evidence instead of looking for problems. Your mind will find whatever you tell it to find. If you wake up looking for proof that nothing is changing, you will find it. If you wake up looking for evidence that everything is shifting, you will find that instead, second, this journal becomes your testimony. It becomes the record of God's faithfulness. And on the days when doubt tries to creep back in, when fear whispers that nothing is happening, you will open this journal and read back through the evidence. You will see page after page of confirmation. You will see the pattern. You will see that God has been moving from day one, and your faith will be reinforced. This is the system. This is how you sustain the frequency of expectation. This is how you hold the posture of receiving while the full manifestation is assembling. 3 pieces of evidence every day for 90 days. By the time you reach day 90, you will have documented 270 confirmations that the veto is active, that the shift is real, that heaven is responding to the decree you issued, and that record will be undeniable, not just to you, to everyone who sees it, because the 90-day window is not random. It is the biblical pattern of completion. 30 days to break the old habit and establish the new rhythm. 60 days to solidify the new identity and anchor the new frequency. 90 days to manifest the full evidence of the internal shift. This is the cycle. This is the timeline. And at each stage, something specific happens. In the first 30 days, you will notice the small signs, the unexpected, refunds, the surprise discounts, the doors that crack open just slightly. These are not the full manifestation. These are the tremors before the earthquake. These are heaven's way of confirming that you are on the right path, that your alignment is working, that the laws are in motion. And your job in these first 30 days is simply to notice, to record, to celebrate each piece of evidence as it appears. Do not despise the small things. Do not dismiss the incremental progress. Every small sign is proof that the large shift is building. In the second 30 days, days 31 through 60, you will notice larger movements. Opportunities that were closed begin to reopen. Conversations that seemed dead begin to revive. Resources that were unavailable begin to appear. People who had no reason to help you begin reaching out. This is the gathering phase. This is when the pieces start assembling. This is when the container you have been building through your daily actions starts filling. And your job in this phase is to stay in faith, to keep executing the protocol, to refuse the temptation to panic when you see the timeline approaching and the full sum has not yet appeared. Trust the process. The delay is not denial. The invisible work is happening faster than the visible work, and the visible work is about to catch up. In the final 30 days, days 61 through 90, you will see the breakthrough. Not always on day 90 exactly, but within that window. The contract comes through, the check arrives, the promotion is announced, the investment pays off, the debt is forgiven, the door flies open. This is when the tsunami crashes. This is when the full force of what has been building in the spiritual realm breaks into the physical realm. And you will look back at the 90 days and realize that every single day was necessary. Every piece of evidence was a stepping stone. Every act of obedience was laying track for the momentum that is now unstoppable. This is the 48-hour activation combined with the 90-day evidence system. The first 48 hours ignite the shift. The 90 days sustain and complete it. And you will execute both with precision, with faith, with absolute commitment to the protocol. Because this is not theory. This is not motivational fluff. This is the exact mechanism that thousands have used to transition from lack to abundance, from desperation to overflow, from waiting to receiving. The ritual is clear. The system is given. The timeline is set. And the shift is no longer imminent. The shift is now. The veto is done. The chains are broken. The prophetic shift is no longer imminent. It is now. It is here. It is active in your life at this very moment. You are not who you were when you started listening to this message. You are not the person who was sitting in lack, wondering if God remembered your name. You are not the person who was waiting passively for heaven to maybe, possibly, someday drop a blessing if you were good enough. That person is gone. That identity has been shattered. That version of you no longer exists. The old you, the one who begged and hoped and wished, died the moment you issued your decree. And the new you, the one who commands and possesses and receives, has been born. This is not metaphor. This is not inspirational language designed to make you feel better temporarily. This is spiritual fact. When you aligned with the 3 laws, when you issued your definite command, when you took sovereign possession, when you committed to forced action, you stepped into a new frequency. You entered a new dimension of faith. You crossed a threshold that you cannot uncross. And on the other side of that threshold, you are not the same person. Your identity has shifted. Your authority has been activated. Your inheritance has been unlocked. You are no longer the beggar at the gate hoping someone throws you a coin. You are the heir walking into the estate that has always belonged to you. You are no longer the victim of circumstances wondering why life is so hard. You are the architect of your reality, partnering with the divine to build the life you were created to live. You are no longer the person who waits for permission. You are the person who issues commands and watches heaven mobilize to fulfill them. This is who you are now. This is the identity shift that just occurred, and you cannot go back. Even if you wanted to, even if fear tried to pull you back into the old patterns, you cannot return to who you were because that person no longer exists in the spiritual realm. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like. Right now, in the invisible realm, there is a transfer happening. Resources that were allocated to others are being redirected to you. Doors that were locked are being opened. Pathways that were blocked are being cleared. Conversations that need to happen are being arranged. People who need to meet you are being positioned. Opportunities that were hidden are being revealed. The machinery of heaven is in full motion on your behalf, not because you earned it, not because you were perfect, but because you aligned with the law. And when you align with the law, The universe has no choice but to comply. And here is what you need to understand. This transfer is not conditional on your continued perfection. It is not dependent on you never doubting again. It is not waiting for you to get your act completely together. The transfer has already been authorized. The veto has already been declared. The decree has already been executed. What happens now is simply the time delay between the spiritual release and the physical manifestation. And that time delay is not God testing you. It is the natural lag that exists between dimensions. The spiritual realm moves at the speed of thought. The physical realm moves at the speed of matter. And matter is slow. But matter is also inevitable. Once the spiritual decree is issued, the physical evidence must follow. It is law. So what do you do in the gap? What do you do in the space between the decree and the delivery? You do not panic. You do not revert. You do not fall back into the old identity of lack and fear and doubt. You hold the frequency. You execute the protocol. You document the evidence. You take the daily action. You speak the creed. You remind yourself every single day that the transfer is active, the shift is complete, and you are simply waiting for the physical realm to catch up to the spiritual realm. And here is what happens as you hold that frequency. You begin to notice changes, not just external changes, though those will come, internal changes. You start making different decisions. You start having different conversations. You start attracting different opportunities. You start walking with different energy. People notice something has shifted in you, even if they cannot name what it is. They feel the authority. They sense the confidence. They pick up on the frequency of someone who knows they are about to step into a new level, and they either align with that frequency or they exit your life. Both are part of the process. Both are necessary for the full manifestation. Because here is the truth. The wealth that is coming to you is not just money. It is a complete recalibration of your life. It is new relationships, new opportunities, new responsibilities, new influence, new platforms, new problems. Yes, but problems at a higher level. Problems that require the version of you that you are becoming, not the version of you that you were. And if the old relationships, the old environments, the old patterns cannot adapt to the new frequency, they will fall away, and you will let them. Not with bitterness, not with anger, but with gratitude for what they were and peace about what they are no longer. This is the shift. This is the recalibration. This is the tsunamic force of divine wealth crashing into your life and rearranging everything to accommodate the magnitude of what has been released. And you are ready. You were not ready 6 months ago. You were not ready a year ago, but you are ready now. The waiting was not wasted. The delay was not punishment. It was preparation. And now the preparation is complete. Now the transfer is active. Now the shift is here. Let me ask you something. Can you feel it? Can you feel the difference in your chest right now compared to when you started this message? There is a lightness. There is a knowing. There is a certainty that was not there before. That is not me. That is not motivational hype. That is the Holy Spirit confirming in your spirit that what you just heard is truth. That is heaven co-signing the decree you issued. That is the universe aligning with the command you spoke. You feel it because it is real, and that feeling is not going to fade. It is going to grow. It is going to strengthen. It is going to become the dominant frequency in your life until the day the full evidence appears, and you look back and realize that this moment, this message, this activation was the turning point. But there is one more thing you must do. One final step to seal this shift into place. You must speak the oath. Not just read it, not just think it. Speak it, out loud, right now. Stand up if you are able. Put your hand over your heart and speak these words with every ounce of conviction in your body. I am the recipient of the divine veto. I am the architect of my wealth under God. The shift is complete. I am no longer defined by my past. I am defined by my prophetic future. I am no longer a beggar. I am an heir. I am no longer a victim. I am a victor. I am no longer waiting for the breakthrough. I am living in the breakthrough. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The action is commanded. And the wealth is mine. Did you speak it? Did you say it out loud? If you did not, go back and do it now, because this oath is not optional. This is the final signature on the contract. This is your voice in the earthly realm confirming what has already been declared in the heavenly realm. And when you speak it, something locks into place. A seal forms. A door closes behind you so you cannot retreat. A bridge burns so you cannot return to the old life. This is the point of no return. This is the moment you step fully into the new identity. And from this moment forward, you do not speak like the old you. You do not think like the old you. You do not act like the old you. Because you are not the old you. You are the new you. And the new you is wealthy. The new you is blessed. The new you is the recipient of the veto that has been declared over your life. Now, for the next 24 hours, you are going to do something that will feel unnatural but is absolutely necessary. For the next 24 hours, you will not use the word hope. You will not use the word wish. You will not use the word maybe. You will erase these words from your vocabulary, and you will replace them with one word: command. When someone asks you what you want, you do not say, I hope or I wish. You say, I command. When you think about your finances, you do not say, I hope things get better. You say, I command increase. When you face an obstacle, you do not say, I wish this would go away. You say, I command this barrier to fall. For 24 hours, you will speak only in the language of command, not suggestion, not request. Command. Why? Because language shapes reality. The words you speak are not just sounds. They are vibrations. They are frequencies. They are decrees that the spiritual realm is listening to and responding to. And for too long, you have been speaking the language of passivity, the language of hoping, the language of wishing, the language of maybe, if I am lucky. And that language has kept you locked in the frequency of lack. But the new you does not speak that language anymore. The new you speaks the language of command, the language of authority, the language of a child of God who knows that they have been given dominion and is not afraid to use it. So for 24 hours, you will practice. You will catch yourself every time the old language tries to come out, and you will replace it with command. And at the end of 24 hours, you will notice something. It will start to feel natural. It will start to feel right. It will start to feel like the language you were always supposed to speak. And you will realize that you do not want to go back to the language of hoping and wishing. You want to stay in the language of commanding. And that realization is the final piece of the identity shift. That is when you know the transformation is complete. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Just stop. Be still. Let the weight of what just happened settle into your spirit. You are standing on the other side of a threshold. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The action is commanded. The oath is spoken. The shift is complete. And in this moment, I want you to feel the presence of God, not as a distant deity who might help you if he feels like it, but as a loving Father who has been orchestrating this moment from before you were born, who saw you in your lack and decided that enough was enough, who issued the veto against your poverty not because you deserved it, but because he loves you, and who has been preparing you through every closed door, through every delay, through every moment of silence, for this exact moment when the floodgates open and the tsunami crashes and your entire reality shifts. Can you feel him? Can you sense his pleasure over you? Can you hear his voice saying, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in the waiting, and now I am entrusting you with the wealth? This is not my voice, this is his voice. And he is not disappointed in you. He is not frustrated with you. He is proud of you. He is celebrating you. He is rejoicing over the fact that you finally stepped into the authority he gave you, that you finally issued the decree he has been waiting to honor, that you finally took possession of the inheritance he has been holding for you. And in this stillness, In this moment of divine connection, I want you to whisper one word, just one: thank you. Not thank you for what might come. Thank you for what has already been released. Thank you for the veto that has been declared. Thank you for the shift that is complete. Thank you for the wealth that is mine. Thank you. Say it now. Whisper it. Let gratitude fill your chest. Let thankfulness overwhelm your doubt. Let appreciation silence your fear. Thank you. This is the language of faith. This is the frequency of receiving. This is the posture that keeps the door open for the manifestation to walk through. Now, here is what I need you to understand. This message is not the end. This message is the beginning. What you just experienced was the activation. What comes next is the manifestation. And the manifestation requires your participation. It requires you to execute the 48-hour protocol. It requires you to keep the evidence journal. It requires you to take the daily action. It requires you to speak the creed. It requires you to hold the frequency. It requires you to live as the new you, not revert to the old you. This is not a one-time event. This is a lifestyle. This is the new normal. This is how you live from this day forward. And here is what I know. Some of you are going to do this. You are going to execute the protocol. You are going to keep the journal. You are going to take the action. You are going to hold the frequency. And in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you are going to come back with a testimony that will blow people's minds. You are going to talk about the debt that was canceled, the check that arrived, the door that opened, the contract that came through, the promotion that was announced, and people are going to ask you, what happened? How did this shift so fast? And you are going to tell them, you are going to say, I aligned with the law. I issued a decree. I took possession. I forced action. And heaven responded. That is what I know is going to happen for some of you. But I also know that some of you are not going to do this. You are going to feel the surge right now. You are going to sense the shift. And then you are going to close this video and go back to your normal routine. You are going to let distraction steal your focus. You are going to let doubt creep back in. You are going to let the old identity reassert itself. And in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you are going to still be sitting in the same lack, wondering why nothing changed. And the answer will be simple. You did not execute. You activated the shift, but you did not sustain it. You issued the decree, but you did not take possession. You felt the faith, but you did not force the action. And the manifestation that was allocated to you, the wealth that was released for you, it redirected to someone else who was willing to do what you were not. So which one are you going to be? Are you going to be the one who executes and receives? Or are you going to be the one who hears and forgets? The choice is yours. The VTO has been declared either way. The shift has been activated either way. But the full manifestation, the complete transfer, the tsunamic arrival of the wealth that only comes to those who hold the frequency, who execute the protocol, who refuse to let the old identity steal what the new identity has been given. I am going to ask you to do one more thing. If you are serious about this, if you are committed to the execution, if you are ready to seal this divine contract and walk forward into the wealth that has been released, I need you to subscribe to this channel right now, not later, not when you remember, right now. Because that act, that simple click, is a physical demonstration of your commitment. It is you telling the universe, I am not just a passive consumer, I am an active participant. I am aligning with the frequency of this message. I am surrounding myself with the teaching that reinforces the truth I just received. I am staying connected to the source that activated the shift. And when you subscribe, comment these 3 words. The shift is complete, not the shift is coming. Not, I hope the shift happens. The shift is complete, because it is. The decree is signed. The faith is sealed. The action is commanded. The oath is spoken. The shift is complete. And when you comment those words, you are sealing the contract. You are announcing to the algorithm, to the community, to the spiritual realm, that you are the one who executed. You are the one who received. You are the one who stepped into the new identity and refused to go back. So do it now. Subscribe, comment, seal the contract, claim the veto, step into the shift, because the tsunami is here. The floodgates are open. The wealth is released. And the only question that remains is whether you will be standing in position to receive it when it crashes ashore. I believe you will. I believe you are the one who executes. I believe you are the one who holds the frequency. I believe you are the one who walks forward into the financial destiny that has just been violently handed to you by divine law. The verdict is given. The gavel has fallen. The judgment is rendered. The payment is on its way. The veto against your poverty is final. The prophetic shift to your wealth is complete. And you, right now, in this moment, are stepping into the greatest season of abundance you have ever known. Not because you are perfect, not because you earned it, but because God said yes, heaven said now, and you said, I receive. Go forward, execute, receive. The shift is complete.